Welcome to the Chicago Bears Podcast, a presentation of ESPN Chicago, Chicago's home for sports. Here's your host, Pat, the designer.
We've talked about this offense a ton. There's a ton that we do want to get into even more with Justin Jones' comments and different things like that. But Nate Davis spoke, even though they didn't put that out for the YouTube side. I don't know what's going on with that. Did he speak before Flus?
Yeah, he was the first one to go today, so he got off off the bat off the practice field.
What did we hear from Nate Davis about his absence from OTAs? Is he coming in looking good, ready to go? What did you see today?
Yeah, not too much. I mean, he had mentioned that, why did you skip OTAs? And he came back last week, just to clarify. Yeah. He only missed the first 2 weeks.
The first 2 weeks, yes.
It was, quote, normal routine for him. So whatever that means, he said he was able to get some off the field stuff taken care of. And for him now, I believe this is his 5th NFL season after 4. With the Tennessee Titans, it's getting his body right, his mind right, taking care of whatever that means off the field. It's always going to be a little interesting when a guy joins a team and isn't there from day one of the offseason program. And it's his prerogative. He's healthy. He was practicing. I mean, remember, he had an injury late in the season last year, but he said today that he didn't have to have surgery. So again, a small piece of news, but considerable, because you don't want to think that the team signed somebody who was injured last year and is working back to off of injury and is supposed to be starting at right guard. I didn't know if we gleaned really all that much from Nate Davis. He's playing in a similar system, so it makes it easier for him to come in and to, assimilate in this offense, not feel like, oh man, I missed so much time. What we did learn from him, and I think it's just good to hear how he feels about Justin Fields. When he talked about his command of the huddle, when I asked him about that, that was something that I think was a big initial impression, because he said that the first thing he said is that, I asked him, what are your impressions of Justin Fields? And how he commands the offense, commands the huddle, has a grasp on everything. He said he's a vet. He's been around Ryan Tannehill. He compared, a lot of what he talked about today was Ryan Tannehill and his ability at quarterback and, his command of the huddle. And he saw a lot of that in Justin Fields. Now, he's never played a live down of football with Justin Fields yet. So we'll see what he thinks about it in a couple months. But It's a good sign that, Nate Davis is able to come in here after missing, a big portion of OTAs. And I know he said he's been locked in and he's been, in his playbook. He's able to stay in touch with teammates, but he just wasn't physically here. It sounds a lot like the Jalen Johnson situation, to be honest, where, it sounds like he had the capabilities to remain engaged. Now, whether that means being in meetings virtually or not, we don't really know, but it's better than the alternative where somebody like that is new to the offense, brand new scheme, and isn't here. I think this one isn't necessarily because he's here and he's already signed his contract. There's no real fear of anything that could play out, that could affect his availability as your starting right guard. And again, to see the early impressions of this offensive line and just going out there, seeing the same 5 guys in the order in which you expect them to be playing in is a pretty big deal. So, I mean, we've seen that, and that's what I expect to continue going forward. But, Nate Davis will have his chance, once they put pads on, to show, okay, this is what the type of player he is. This is how he looks in this offense. This is how he looks at that position. And it'll be good then to be able to see where Darnell Wright is, knowing that he's playing next to a veteran, and that's going to be somebody he relies on for communication and somebody who helps him through the inevitable rookie wall.
And that's a big question from it all, right? The only reason that I had concern about Nate Davis not being there, and is it going to affect it in the long run? Probably not, but I would have thought that it would have been great just to get that rapport with Darnell Wright early on. Again, he showed up for the 3rd week of OTAs, so probably starting to build that relationship there. He's been in meetings, which means he's at least talking with them and hearing from them. But what did you see, right? How did that pairing look today? Again, no pads, you can't see a ton, but how does that pairing look? How does Darnell Wright look early on in this thing?
I think it looks what you expect it to look like. I mean, but we've said this about Darnell Wright, that, first off, the size itself, that's among the first things that stands out to you. And he's a massive human being. So good that, he's going to have that attribute to like help himself, get into the NFL. And one thing Nate Davis said he's relayed to him about is speed of the game is going to be a lot different for you here. That for him as a rookie coming in with the Tennessee Titans was his first thing he had to overcome. And I know, even though like Darnell Wright played in a hurry up offense where you're getting like 80, sometimes 85 plays a game at Tennessee, you're on the field a lot and you're playing without breaks. You're not huddling. You're kind of, moving along very quickly. I am curious to ask him 3 to 4 weeks into the season how he feels that helped him last year, and curious if it mattered at all or if it was just completely out the window because the NFL is really that much different than what he's going to expect, than what he played with in college. And, I do expect too that it's going to feel different because the type of edge rushers he's going to have to go against on a weekly basis, even though he came from the SEC. That is like you're facing the best of the best in the SEC more or less on a weekly basis for 17 games. So all of those things, Darnell Wright will have to go through this year. Good for him though. He's going to have Nate Davis, who went through this before. He's going to have Cody Whitehair, a long tenured veteran on this team. He's going to have Tevin Jenkins to lean on, who had to go through a full on position switch last year. And then of course, Braxton Jones just went through the rookie curve and played 100% of snaps at left tackle last year. If there's anybody that's walking into a situation where he's got, he can walk in and say, I'm comfortable with the guys that I have around me, that they're going to help me get to where I need to go. It's Darnell Wright, just because of like the amount of, experience that he inherits being part of that room and being the young guy. It is very hard to assimilate to an offensive line room where everybody, like if one person's out of sync, usually the coverage breaks down and it's something bad happens out of that. So you have to get on the same page as your teammates very quickly. I think he's going to be in a really good spot to do that because it's not like there's like 2 or 3 rookies or brand new players who have never played, had starting roles before, trying to figure it out on this offensive line. He's the one coming in who is going to have a lot of attention on him from players, from his other teammates and coaches to help get him up to speed if he's not there or doesn't feel like he's there and where he needs to be as quickly as he wants to be.
It's going to be, this offense as a whole, it's so, I don't know why this is weird to talk about, but it just feels weird where like there's guys that have been not only experienced in the league at these positions, but have actually been good at it. Like maybe that's just being a Bears fan for long enough, and it's just like, yeah, we got vets, but we could replace them if we wanted to. It just feels weird because it's like Nate Davis was a good right guard at his position. Cody Whitehair played well at center, right? Like you talk about all these different positions, and you see guys who were able to make an impact. Justin Jones actually talked about kind of even some of the impact that Justin Fields and Darnell, DJ Moore are already putting out there. Let's listen in on that because the offense has me a little bubbly. I'm not gonna lie.
1 and 2 connection gonna be crazy this year. Him and DJ Moore, it's gonna be crazy this year. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I like what I see. DJ Moore is a great addition. He's made some amazing catches this OTAs, and it's just something that we haven't had here in a long time. That what I'm hearing. I've only been here a year, so something that we haven't had here in a long time. And I'm excited. He has somebody who can get open, who can run every route on the route tree. Can beat man, press, any type of coverage. You're throwing at him, double teams. He's running right by guys. Hitting them with double moves and. We got guys to block for Justin Fields too. We just got our offensive tackle Darnell Wright, Nate Davis. The vets like that on the line. It helps the young guys out. Especially last year. We're shuffling a lot of pieces around. We got Braxton with his rookie year last year. He had a pretty good year, but the O line moved around a lot, like piece wise, like new guys in and out the lineup. It's kind of hard for your rookie to really, I guess, excel when you don't really know who's playing by you the next week. But now you got a set O-line, you got these set vets, you got set people who's going to play with you. Coming this season, like sky's the limit for that room right there. And I'm excited for him, Justin Fields. I'm excited for the whole offensive side of the ball because it's going to be some real explosive plays where Justin doesn't have to use his legs.
So when you hear even the defensive guys getting giddy about this, what does that tell you about the improvements that the Bears have made this offseason and that connection between DJ Moore and Justin Fields already?
The reason I asked Justin Jones that question is because when we sat down, I thought back to Clocker cleanout day, January 9th or 10th, whatever day it was. And we asked him about, what did you learn about your starting quarterback? And it's, obviously football is a sport that's played in conjunction. My position affects your position, which affects another position. It's a 3-phase game. And but you typically don't hear a defensive player talk about the quarterback in such glowing terms the way that Justin Jones has talked about Justin Fields. Now, could it be the fact that they both have the Georgia connection, like they're both from there? I don't know. Like, clearly he pays attention to what's going on the other side of the ball. A lot of times you get guys who say, oh, I'm just trying to do my job. I'm just trying to move forward with it. But it's very clear that the success that Justin Jones and this defense expects to have is going to be predicated off of what you see on the offensive side of the ball. So when he says in January, this is a direct quote, once we start getting some more pieces around him and everything and start actually building a scheme for him that can really showcase every athletic talent he has, every ability that he has, it's going to be real dangerous out there. Like, that's what he's saying when he's bringing up the DJ Moore thing and then that connection, which he sees more than we do because he's been here throughout the entirety of this offseason program. He's seeing it on a day-to-day basis, and it's sticking out to him. As a defensive player, you're supposed to be, in your mind, it's no, we've got to stop all that. The fact that there have been moments where that connection is clearly, beaten what the defense is trying to do, that's a really good sign that like things are trending in the right direction. But I just think that this is somebody too who understands the bigger picture here. It's going to take this defense improving a lot because at the end of the season last year, they completely failed on their own expectations, which was, playing football that, was respectable football. When you're giving up 400 yards a game in back-to-back, multiple weeks in a row, that's demoralizing and you don't want to be part of that. So what they're building here as far as like the defensive side of the ball with a lot of the new pieces, especially position that affects him with all of the additions they made at defensive tackle. And he's open to that. Like he said, it's on me to bring along the young guys because that's what was done for me when I was a rookie and when I was in my early years in the NFL. Sometimes, like, if all goes according to plan, if it's the plan of, the front office, Gervon Dexter and Zach Pickens end up becoming starters one day. That would put Justin Jones out of a job. So you have to, like, if you're a player like that, you have to be secure in your abilities and confident that you can do what you need to do to keep your job at 3 technique this year, which Alan Williams said, or, about a month ago, Justin Jones is our 3 technique. Some of that could be posturing. Some of that could just be like that at that point in time, you have 2 rookies. You're not just going to project a rookie's like starting at any position. I mean, even the Bears were hesitant at first about Darnell Wright and like just saying they didn't want to say, he's our starting right tackle. Like, look at what the Panthers did last week. It took them, I'm very proud of them as an organization in seeing the way that they handled it by saying, Bryce Young is QB1. Like, that's just what you get with the rookie position, any rookie at any position. Like, teams typically don't want to go ahead and give them like, oh yeah, you're the guy who already earned it without playing any meaningful football. But that's kind of the approach I think the Bears have taken with Justin Jones. Like, he's a critical part to making sure this interior part of the pass rush works because he's got to be the one bringing along guys that he will have to mentor and hearing him talk about Zach Pickens and that he feels like he sees a lot of himself in him at a young age. That's good for the chemistry of that room. And it just can't be spoken of enough because that's so important that you have to have guys on the same page and you start building it right now in the middle of June and hope that will carry over to training camp by the time you get there. Maybe there's a couple new additions on the defensive line and maybe we know a little bit more of what this thing's going to look like and who's going to be where on the interior, but he plays a really pivotal role in making sure that whole thing happens.